Greetings, thank you for lending an ear to the voice of the times for Friday, October 29, 2021. For today's editorial, challenges facing climate summit loom large. The clock is ticking loudly. That is the grim reminder issued by the executive editor of the UN Environment Program or UNEP to world leaders who will be attending the Glasgow Climate Change Conference, which opens this Sunday. The agency has just published its emission gap report, and it makes for depressing reading. Basically, it suggests that efforts to curb global warming have been feeble so far, and there is not much time left before it reaches the point where its impact becomes irreversible. Unless there is a dramatic downshift, the global temperature will rise by 2.7 degrees Celsius before 2100. That mocks the 1.5°C cap that was set by the Glasgow Summit, known as COP26, for a conference of the parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change or UNFCCC. The UNEP is not the only international agency to sound the alarm. Last month, the World Meteorological Organization released a study showing a record rise in greenhouse gas emissions last year, with carbon dioxide leading the charge. The unprecedented increase has major negative repercussions for our daily lives and well-being, for the state of our planet, and for the future of our children and grandchildren, notes WMO Secretary General Professor Petteri Taalas. The stark pronouncement put more pressure on the summit participants to fully commit to its goal, which is to mobilize public and private finance to support those on front line of the climate crisis and reach global net zero by mid-century. The Paris Agreement that laid down the strategy for cutting greenhouse gas emissions called for raising $1 billion a year to support climate change programs. The 2020 deadline for raising that amount has come and gone without the major donor nations delivering on their pledges. They also are not on the same page when it comes to setting net zero targets, the UNEP said. The 20 richest nations, the Glasgow Conference, Britain must first see to it that commitments are fulfilled, and second, that diverse plans are forged into one cohesive and effective blueprint. It's a tall order, but unless everyone pushes together like they've never pushed before, the summit is doomed to fail. The anemic response to climate change mitigation has not escaped UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The emission gap is the result of a leadership gap, he has declared. All is not lost. The major actors can still make this a turning point to a greener future instead of a tipping point to climate catastrophe, Guterres said. The task ahead is daunting, according to the UNEP. To stand a chance of limiting global warming to 1.5°C, we have 8 years to almost have greenhouse gas emissions. 8 years to make the plans, put in place the policies, implement them, and ultimately deliver the cuts. Global warming requires a global response. The summit's participants should imprint that in their minds. The urgency for climate change action cannot be overemphasized. We are already feeling its effects. Higher temperatures are spawning extreme weather conditions like searing heat waves, heavier flooding, and more ferocious wildfires. Low-lying islands and coastal populations are threatened by rising sea levels as polar ice caps melt. What is chilling is that these changes are taking place in just a matter of years, not millenniums or centuries. The economic cost is equally high. Rising temperatures have been blamed for heat-related mortality and work impairment, and more than 103 billion potential work hours were lost globally in 2019 compared with those lost in 2000, the WMO reported. Guterres is convinced that for the Glasgow Summit to be turning point, we need all countries to commit to net zero emissions by 2050, backed up by concrete long-term strategies to achieve this. We need much greater solidarity, including full delivery of the long-standing climate finance pledge to help developing countries take climate action. There is no alternative if we are to achieve a safer, more sustainable and prosperous future for all. We cannot allow net zero to become nothing more than a catchy but empty slogan. And that's the editorial for Friday, October 23, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to its digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and listen to the Voice of the Times.